Today we're going to be harvesting what we consider our biggest crop for self-sufficiency, which is white potatoes. They take a lot of time to dig, but the sense of accomplishment afterwards is completely worth it because white potatoes play a huge role in keeping us out of the grocery store during the winter months. It's gonna be a big day, but we're excited.
Digging potatoes is not one of my favorite jobs, but it's something that does need to be done. It does have a little bit of that treasure hunt vibe, which can be kind of fun, but a lot of digging. We do consider potatoes probably our most important staple crop. We use potatoes for a lot of dishes, and they're one of the easiest things for us to store. They just get harvested, cured, and then stuck in the root cellar for the winter, and they store pretty much all winter long. So we're gonna need these crates for potatoes that we're gonna be digging. We're also gonna need these crates to get the onions off of the porch. They have been curing now for like a couple weeks. They need to go down to the root cellar. We need to clear this space out because we've got another crop that we're gonna be harvesting today. That's gonna also be a big job. We have a really big day ahead of us.
The stump on these onions is now completely brown and crispy and dried out. So these are ready now to go into the cold room. They've been out here on the porch curing for around 4 weeks. I left them out for 2 weeks with the stems on, and then another 2 weeks after I cut them off, and these are just perfectly dried out. Our cold room is still a little bit on the warm side. It's around 60 degrees, which is perfect for like curing potatoes and stuff, but it's not perfect for storage foods that are already cured and need to just last. But last year, our onions did totally fine. They lasted until like the following spring, so I'm not too worried about it. As I'm putting these onions into crates, I'm giving them all just a very gentle squeeze. This one is soft, so this one is not going to last very long. So I'm keeping these aside, as well as some of these small ones that aren't gonna store very well. These small ones are nice and firm. They'll last for, you know, a couple months, but they're usually the first ones to go. So I am keeping all of these out because I use a ton of onions in my canning stuff.
Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the window and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold when the autumn leaves are playing chases, puts a smile upon my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September.
Welcome to my white potato patch. This looks basically just like one jungle of weeds because it is, but I have an explanation. In the springtime, I plant my potatoes, I keep them weeded, eventually I hill them with dirt, and then I hill them with leaves, and then I just leave them completely alone for like 2 months. So what I used to find is that when I was pulling the big weeds right around the potatoes, some small potatoes would come up, and I just felt like it messed with my yield. So I just leave the weeds completely alone. And even though this looks like a crazy jungle of weeds, it's actually not that many weeds. They're just huge weeds. So it doesn't actually take that long to just pull them up while we're digging. Usually with weeds, I like to just lay them down so that they can cover the dirt and so that the nutrients that these weeds took up can just go right back into the soil. But these have seed heads, and so I'm getting rid of these. I do not want these in my garden. Oh, first potato of the day is a monster. So I have been coming out here and digging potatoes off the tops of this first row of potatoes. They're the red potatoes. They don't store as long. So we have already been eating quite a few of these red potatoes. So if it looks like some of these plants don't have much on them, they don't. But it's just because I've been digging around the tops. Woo!
There's a salamander.
Oh, that scared me.
Cowboy, get out of there.
And go put it in the asparagus patch.
One row done. I've been using my Zero hiking shoes for digging these, which usually work good for most of the stuff around here on our homestead. They've got a little bit thicker sole than my other barefoot shoes, but for digging with this pitchfork, it's just not quite enough. So I'm gonna go put my boots on. While I'm in here, I'm gonna grab some Element. It's starting to get hot outside. Element is sponsoring today's video. They make an electrolyte drink mix with a science-backed ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. When you're working hard or working out, exercising, and you're sweating, your body is losing minerals, and those minerals need to be replaced. I'm gonna be having the citrus today next to the lemonade that we had this summer and the grapefruit. This is one of my favorites. Element has those minerals in it that your body needs, and replacing those minerals can help with things like fatigue, muscle cramps, weakness, even hormone imbalances. I don't do energy drinks, so I have an Element when I work out. I know that it's gonna be doing good things for my body, it tastes good, and I feel like it gives me a little boost too. Element is used by professional athletes, Olympic weightlifting teams, special forces in the military, like I said, normal people like me. And by the way, if you haven't gotten it yet, Michelle's Brothers Coffee Shop in Mechanicsburg, Ohio is still having the Farmer's Brevet that has a chocolate caramel element in it. It is really good. So make sure you go and check that out if you're local here, and tell them that More Than Farmers sent you and you get $1 off. And if you want to get something to try for yourself, use the link in our description, drinkelement.com/morethanfarmers, and you'll get a free sample pack of 8 single serving packets with any order. Doesn't matter if you've ordered before, you'll still get it every time you order.
We've been homesteading for over a decade now, and I know what overwhelm feels like. I've experienced it so often on various levels. When I started this lifestyle, I remember making around a bushel of onions into onion powder. It was a lengthy, not to mention smelly process that honestly did very little in keeping our bellies full. Not that making onion powder is bad, it's just not the most efficient use of time. Now that I'm years into this lifestyle, I've discovered a few simple secrets that let us grow an abundance of food that actually fills our family's stomachs, but with minimal effort. I focus on growing large amounts of root veggies that are filling and nutritious that can make up a large part of our family's diet without needing to be put into the freezer or canning jars. So many people steer completely clear of this lifestyle because they think it's just way too much work. They think they have to do all or nothing, but I think it's important to remember that you don't have to do it all. You can make a huge dent in your food security with only one crop. For instance, if you plant a raised bed full of lettuce, you won't get nearly as much food value from it as you would if you planted a raised bed full of potatoes. Potatoes are bulkier and much more filling than lettuce, not to mention they can be stored for months, whereas lettuce will spoil within a week or two. White potatoes are the base of so many of our meals. I use them to make shepherd's pie, fries, loaded baked potatoes, and soup on a weekly basis in our home. On another note, white potatoes are on the dirty dozen list, which means they've been heavily sprayed with pesticides and fungicides, not to mention that conventional potatoes are sprayed with a chemical sprout inhibitor shortly after harvest to keep them from sprouting on the grocery store shelves. This is just one more reason that we really like to grow all of our own potatoes.
So the camera audio was not working here, and one of the things I said was that we took a lunch break and it ended up being an extra long break because we had some camera issues. Well, here continues the camera issues. Anyways, we need to get out to the garden to harvest our next crop, but we want to get these potatoes inside. Even though they're not in direct sunlight, we don't want them out here getting in the light because they can get green spots. So we're just going to take them inside, go finish harvesting in the garden, and then we'll come back in and lay them out to do the curing process, and we'll tell you all about that later.
Not gonna lie, today was a little bit rough for me. I'm always a little bit nervous when we are harvesting our staple crops because they are staple crops. We really relied heavily on these staple crops, and white potatoes are like our biggest, most important staple crop. And this year they just did not do as well as some years. I've been growing potatoes for like over a decade now, getting huge harvests, and this just was not a great year. I didn't do anything different. The weather patterns were kind of weird. This year we got about 200 pounds of potatoes from the 40 pounds of potatoes that I planted. Last year we planted 40 pounds of potatoes and we got 395 pounds off of them. So this year we got substantially less. I posted something about it on Instagram and I had quite a few gardeners say that this year was a very poor year for potatoes. It was like some of the plants barely even had any potatoes underneath them, and a lot of the plants had like 2 or 3 big ones and then that was all. So it was super weird. It was not the same as normal. When something like this happens in my garden, my first instinct is to be like, oh, what did I do wrong? But I really don't think I did anything wrong. And so this is just me encouraging all of you other gardeners and then trying to preach to myself that it's not about doing something right or wrong. We are working with nature. That's my favorite thing about gardening, is feeling that partnership with nature. We have to take that into account as well. It's not just about me, it's about the whole picture, and it's all good. We'll be fine. Last year we had way too many potatoes. I actually ended up having to give some away. I'm not really worried that we won't have enough potatoes to last us through the winter. We're also growing dent corn this year, and we can definitely use that as a carb as well. It'll all be fine. It's just initially disappointing. The next project that we want to tackle is these dried beans. These are navy beans here. They're such a pretty white. You have to be really careful when pulling up dried beans because they can very easily break open and waste the beans. So we're pulling them up very gently. Dried beans are a really, really great self-sufficiency food because they don't need to be canned or frozen or anything like that. We're just going to pull these bean pods off and then let all the pods dry for a while, just a couple weeks, and then we will put them in a pillowcase, smack them on the porch, and the beans and the pods will separate and we'll have dried beans. We can just store those in food grade buckets, no preserving needed, and they're high in protein, very filling, very delicious.
Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were up.
These are all of the navy beans. I just planted like one double row of each of the kinds. Oh, this thing is squealing. And I really like to keep them separate because we grow quite a bit of beans and it's really annoying to have to sort, like pick out the different kinds after we've shelled them.
When the autumn leaves are playing chases, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun.
The next beans that we have here are tiger's eye. These are like my favorite. I love these so much. They're beautiful.
Dancing through the last days of September, I wonder where they're going. The flight of swallows sailing through the sky. There's no way of knowing, but maybe someplace far from you and I.
The kind that we are pulling now is red kidney. These are so beautiful. I didn't even plant black turtle this year because we are so in love with the tiger's eye and the red kidney.
They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low. Dancing through the last days of September.
We're ready to lay the potatoes out on these shelves to cure. But before we do that, I want to move the onions from in here to over there. We didn't think about it when we put the onions in here earlier, that onions and potatoes need to be kept separate. The gases that come off the onions can make the potatoes sprout sooner. Once we actually store them for the winter, we'll probably put the onions back out here, potatoes in there, I don't know, but either way, they need to be kept separate. We just need to lay these potatoes out in a single layer. We don't wash them before we put them up here. You don't want them damp. So a little bit of dirt is fine, rather that than dampness. And then once they're in here for about 2 weeks, then they'll go into crates and then they can be stored on the shelf. And we're gonna sort them then once we put them into crates. There's some of these that have that disease that we saw, maybe some that have a little bit of damage or something. Not gonna worry about that at this point. After about 2 weeks or so, we'll be able to better see how they actually look. And then we'll keep the diseased ones separate and use those first because those are not gonna store as long. This wire shelving that I got from Home Depot is perfect for this because it allows for a lot of airflow. And you definitely want that while the potatoes are curing. The other thing that you want is the right kind of temperature. Right now, what is supposed to be our cold room is not very cold. It does get colder in the winter, but we do struggle with getting it actually cold enough. We're thinking about trying using an air conditioner in here. I don't know if we'll try that or not. The thing is, you can use what's called a cool bot with an air conditioner to like really cool down a room like this, but the only air conditioners that work with those are window units, and there's nowhere to put a window unit in here. The only thing we could do is a standing unit, and so that would probably help make it cooler. It just wouldn't make it like really cold. But anyways, right now I think the temperature is usually around 60 degrees, which is perfect for the curing. Right now it's a little warmer in here because this door's been open for a while. But what I want to do then, once we actually have the potatoes cured and we're going to put them on the shelf, is I do have a little fan on the end of one of the vent pipes, and I will turn that on at night because the nights have been getting pretty cool. So that will hopefully draw in some cooler air during the night. I want to put it on a timer so that it just goes at night, pulls in that cool air, and then during the day it'll be off, and hopefully it'll stay cooler in here then once these potatoes are cured. But this is perfect right now for this curing process. We get questions all the time about our cold room, how it's made, how we did it. I built this like right at the beginning of when we started our YouTube channel, and so I do have a video about it that I don't know if I want to recommend you watch. It's not a video that I'm exceptionally proud of, but I do show basically how I did it, and it's pretty simple really. It's in part of our basement here where it has 2 walls that are against the dirt, and then the other 2 walls are just really insulated walls that I built to section it off from the rest of our basement. And then I have a door in the middle here so that I can have 2 different rooms so that we could keep one a little cooler than the other, change the humidity in one or the other if we want to. We haven't really gotten too deep into doing stuff like that, but that option is there. One of the main things you want in a cold room is good ventilation. You need an inlet pipe for the air and an outlet. And basically what that is cold air is gonna drop, warm air is gonna rise. So we have a vent pipe coming down and out to the other side, and then a vent pipe up higher. And what it does is it's supposed to make so the air circulates. Cold air comes in, warm air goes out. But you've gotta have good ventilation because your vegetables that are stored in here will release gases into the air. And if it's just closed off, if there's no ventilation, that could actually kill you. So, not something to be scared of, just something to be aware of. It's huge. We do get some mold sometimes on the concrete. Sometimes we'll spray that to take care of it, like with vinegar. For the most part, it doesn't get really bad if we watch out for it. And on the metal, I haven't had any issues at all with mold on there. We don't deal with mold in the winter. It's in the summer when it gets warmer outside and it gets a little warmer in here. That's when we deal with it. We just got to make sure we clean it good then before we put more food in here. Living life like this, growing and storing your own food, is very fulfilling, very rewarding. It can also be a bit of a roller coaster. As you saw today, we were a little disappointed with our potato harvest. It's like half of what it was last year, and we were shooting for about the same amount. If you saw our video last week, we gathered, what was it, like 120 pounds of carrots, which was a little bit less than last year, but we purposely didn't plant as many because we actually had too many carrots last year. So that was a really exciting harvest. Then we come to this week and it's a little disappointing. But that kind of stuff just happens and it's okay. We know we'll be okay. We know between all of the vegetables that we have, the potatoes, the carrots, hopefully we'll have a good sweet potato harvest, the butternut squash. We'll have enough food to get us through the winter, and it's okay. It's just that it can be a roller coaster and it can be disappointing, but it's all part of it. We learn some things, and I think all in all we become better people. And it's also, as cliche as it might sound, we learn to trust more than in just ourselves. We trust God, who creates this stuff, who makes this stuff grow, and I think that's something that you can tend to miss out on a little bit if you're not doing this for yourself, if you're just relying on the grocery store. And I know not everybody can do what we're doing, but there's little ways you can do stuff. You could go get vegetables from a farmer's market or even the grocery store to can and put on your shelf, and then you get that same kind of satisfaction of knowing that you prepared that food, that you've got it stored away for the winter. I know it's not always the same, but it can also be a really good, fulfilling feeling, even if you can't do the big stuff, if you want to call it that. It's late, it's getting dark out here. Didn't get to the beans, so we'll probably have the kids work on separating these tomorrow. You don't want to leave them in piles like this for very long because they will get moldy. So they need to get separated soon, but they'll be fine overnight. We're just ready to call it a day. And I guess I will put the video here of the root cellar build that I did years ago for you to watch next.
Oh, you gouged it. How could you?
Are there any potatoes?
Oh!